Hi,
Hello,
how are you?
good and you.
I'm hanging in there. I had to leave work today because I've been battling a headache for the past 3 days, and then my blood pressure spiked. So went in,
Hmm.
gave me a shot, sent
Give
me
you a
home.
shot.
Yeah, for the pain, for the headache, and
Get migraines?
my doctor seems to think that what I was telling him sounds like migraines because it was like light sensitivity, sound. Um, Head was just splitting. And so I got the shot in the hip.
I hate shot.
I know. And then prescribed a muscle relaxer because he thinks that it's also tension because he was like, yeah, I can feel it in your shoulders and everything. And I was like, yeah, that hurts. Don't touch it. And so I'm not on muscle relaxers because he said that it would make me sleepy. But the shot in itself, I came home, I laid down, and I made sure to set the alarm for 4:35. I hit snooze, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, I got to get up! I got to do SBDM." So I'm here.
Yeah. I get headaches when I get stressed, it starts in my neck, my
Hmm.
shoulder, my neck. Then I get headache. I already know it, but my doctor prescribed me some muscle relaxers. I take them at night if I need them.
Yeah, see, I was in a car accident maybe about 10 or 11 years ago, and I was in muscle spasms where the seatbelt was. So then I was diagnosed with bursitis of my left shoulder and prescribed muscle relaxer. I cannot, even cutting it in half, I cannot take it. Like, I'm gonna take one tonight because my doctor said it would probably be best if you take it because it'll help relieve that tension that's in your neck and shoulders so that you can actually get some relief from the headaches. But
Let's tell you what else. Because I don't like taking medicine. When she gave me the muscle relaxer, I said, I'm not going to really take them unless I absolutely. She said, but you need to take them. I use freeze, biofreeze,
yeah,
roll
I have
on.
that.
You put it in
I
the
have it.
refrigerator.
I have the cream and then I have the roller. And then so I put that on and then put the roller on my shoulder and roll back and forth. So,
Put the roller in the refrigerator.
mhm.
Do it. It works a lot better.
Yeah, I've exhausted that. That does nothing for me now.
Um,
Well, I
I have,
use them a lot. I use a lot of muscle relaxer when I have my back problems, and it really helps me because my
yeah.
problem is that it moves the how you call it the backbone, the whole thing. How you call it?
Oh,
fine.
Your spine. Thank
your
you.
spine, yeah.
Yeah, because the
Your
pressure.
vertebrae.
Yes.
Mhm.
So if I don't take it, it will move them, and it hurts. So it gets me released really fast. That's my right my
Oh,
my
yeah.
experience.
Like I said, I've got some background with the muscle relaxer, but even cutting it in half, I'm groggy the next day. So, Kathleen, just FYI, I will be emailing and texting everybody else. I think I'm gonna work from home tomorrow. Mhm.
Nice. How are you feeling better?
Um, so I was telling the ladies that the shot, it seems to help, but I fell asleep and set my alarm to get up to do this because you know me, I can't let go.
I thought Trevor was going to do it.
Well, I here's everything, and if I don't feel better, then can you do this? But how did the faculty meeting go?
I didn't get to watch it.
Okay.
I had someone come in to register. That's a whole nother story.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Hello, everyone. Sorry,
Hello.
right on time. I'll be
Oh,
joined
you're
by
fine. We're still waiting
via.
for we're waiting for two more, not Santiago. We're waiting for Shelly and Seer. Miss Santiago, were you at the faculty meeting?
Yes, ma'am.
Did it go okay?
Yes, it was short and fast.
I noticed that. I saw the email after the faculty meeting come out. I was like, wow, that was,
It was like this.
I guess I'd drag it out, I guess. I don't know. I do the field.
No, is that the information was new in terms of what they were going with the video and all that, and then they asked questions. Nobody had question because we're still absorbing
Trying to process it.
and the targeted thing. And there was any question, everybody was like, we don't know even what to ask. You know, like it's all new.
Gotcha.
So you're probably gonna have a lot of questions.
Okay.
Afterwards.
Yeah. I shared it with the instructional leadership team meeting on Tuesday morning. That's like our department heads and our team leaders, and try to get some feedback from them. But because that was the day that there was no internet in the school and the meeting was at 8:30, and I was like, well, we have less than 30 minutes to even talk about this now because you all have to go. So
yeah, that's what they wrote, that they didn't really went through that, so they didn't have the information either as well. So probably you will have to like go over it.
Okay.
With them.
Gotcha. Well, we're gonna go through it today. All right. So, hi, Shelley. I'm gonna go ahead and get started because it's 5:01, and so the time is now 5:01. We're gonna call this special called SBDM meeting to order. Today, I really appreciate you all coming together to take a look at our school's targeted services plan. I don't know if any of you were able to watch the board meeting on the 28th of September when the board had some questions about as we move forward towards a hybrid model, what systems are in place, since we are not at that, I guess at that particular meeting, they were not ready to move forward with the hybrid model because on that previous Thursday, on the map, we were red. So Fayette County was red. And so our superintendent stated that the hybrid plan rollout timeline was on hold. And that in the meantime, because of the KDE regulations about COVID-19, and I had all those documents forwarded to you, just so you have them in reference. But in there, there's verbiage about when you're in the red, you can have, at the discretion of the school, to have targeted services for a identified group of students. And some of the services that can be provided to those targeted groups of students is remediation, tutoring, evaluation, like support with Braille and hearing impaired. Also working with, which lends itself to MSD, where there's tactile and working with manipulatives and movement that cannot be done necessarily at home. So bringing those students or having those students come into the school for those targeted services. So I'm going to share my screen. This is a draft of Bryan Station Middle School's targeted services reopening plan. And I hope, can everybody see it?
Mm-hmm.
I try to enlarge it. But you'll see at the beginning, it says that the district and the school continues providing instructional utilizing the NTI 2DL model. That is the model that we're in right now. It may be necessary for schools to bring back small groups of students into the building for short orientation periods or to provide targeted services. This document should be used to capture and communicate schools' targeted service model. These plans should be shared with the school chiefs. This was for elementary because they're on a different timeline than secondary. This is actually required to my chief no later than 9 a.m. on October the 12th, because there will be another board meeting on October the 12th at 6 o'clock. And so he wants those in his hand in the event that board members would like feedback from secondary as well. But so who we identified, so how we were able to identify the targeted services plan, like what students, was by looking at two different data points. Well, actually, three different data points. We looked at our historical data, which is our state assessment from the 18-19 school year, where we had that indication that we were ATSI for our EL population in reading and math, and also noticing that the data from that historical data was showing that even though we came out of TSI indication for special education, that was the second group of students that were close to TSI status. So, and then moving forward, we looked at our CSIP, our continuous school improvement plan, where we had indication in there that we were going to have supports specifically for our EL student population. And with this NTI 2DL, we have noticed that a large population of our EL students have been without access to technology, not technology as in Chromebooks, but access to the internet because of the backlog of the need for hotspots. And so we felt like, okay, this is all the more reason why we need to target these services for our EL students so that we can give them more supports with remediation and reading and math. We also, we are almost finished with MAP testing. The window closes October 16th, but a majority of our students have already completed, and at our regular scheduled SBDM meeting, I will be sharing with you our MAP data. But in looking at the preliminary, we're noticing that our EL students still require that support, as well as our special ed students. Because of the summer slide and the COVID slide encompassed together, we are noticing that our students need more support with reading and more specifically math. So that was how we came up with the WHO to target for this extra services. And I kind of already went into the why, but why are we targeting this? Because the indication of ATSI for our EL population from the 18-19 state assessment data, and that we also have a targeted plan to support our EL students with remediation and tutoring in the area of reading, language acquisition, math would provide the targeted strategies to aid in closing the gaps. And also in reviewing the fall data that showed that our special ed students needed some more support as well. I will add the caveat that after looking at special education, and there are criteria that was provided by Amanda Dennis to determination of what, I guess, tier of special education students could receive support. I did inquire, and then yes, in some cases, we will look at our 504 students because some of those students who have 504s are for areas of need that may not have put them into the special education with an individual education plan, but they do have accommodations through their 504 that, looking at MTSS or a multi-tiered support system, where are they in that rung? Are they at the tier 2? Are they being very effective there through this virtual, or would having them come in 1 or 2 days a week support them? So we're also considering that as well. So this is going to be very interesting, but just to give you a little background, the timeline. So elementary is the first cluster that they're focusing in on, and they're looking at a start time of October 19th for elementary with transportation through Fayette County. So then secondary, middle school and high school, their targeted support with Fayette County transportation would not begin until November 2nd. So we may offer this to families through invitation for days like Mondays and Tuesdays, Thursdays and Fridays, not to exceed 2 hours per day. And then also there could not be more than 15 people in a room. So we have to take 15% of our school population. So the school capacity is 800. You take 15% of that, and we're looking at about 120 kids max. But when you think about the targeted population that we're looking at, that number would dwindle down. And so we're going to maintain that 2 to 4 time frame. But if we start prior to November 2nd, which would, and then we were told that transportation would only be provided 1 day a week on a Wednesday, that we could have the targeted services for those tutorial and remediation on Mondays, Tuesdays, or Thursdays and Fridays. But parents would have to provide transportation for that. So we are looking at our MTSS model, that we have small groups not to exceed a ratio of 10 to 1 for that remediation and support for that targeted group of students. The staffing that we're looking at are those teachers who are our special ed teachers, as well as our EL teacher, as well, and math and reading teachers that would be able to come into the building and provide those services. And we are trying to keep everyone on the first floor in a centralized location. So we'll more than likely be utilizing the 6th grade area and having those small groups. So we have to follow the healthiest school guidelines. We can have no more than 15 people in the classroom. That means including the teacher. And let's say if there's a paraeducator that's in the classroom as well. So that automatically takes it down to 13. But in our model, we're wanting to keep it 10 to 1 anyway. So that should help as well. They will have to wear masks consistently, and that the remediation tutoring sessions will last no more than 2 hours. And then our input and communication. So we started out by sharing this with our instructional leadership team, did an overview with the faculty today, and I'm bringing it to you today as the SBDM. And just so that you know, invitations will be sent to individuals that are identified from the targeted student groups to participate in the remediation tutoring sessions. And communication will go out to all Bryan Station Middle School stakeholders so that they can have a better understanding of the mindset behind why we chose the specific student groups that we were targeting for this additional services or the targeted services prior to the possibility of going back to a hybrid model. And that is pretty much our plan. Any questions?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Um,
Do you want me to have it shared? Do you want me to still share my screen so you can reference?
yes,
Okay.
please.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
All right, there.
How?
Okay, yeah, how? Okay, it says small group, and then it talks about 10 to 1 ratio, like that. When it came down to the students, what if you have students that refuse to wear their mask? What, I mean, even in that situation?
Okay, so in this situation, since this is extra services that are provided, I have been given support by my chief that we will tell the families they will not be allowed to come back.
Thank you. That's all I wanted to.
Yes. And I know this is going off left field, but it even came up Wednesday during our middle school cadre meeting that our concern, and it is a concern of all, I can just speak for middle school principals. When we go back, or when and if the possibility, that's the language we're being told to say, but the possibility of going back to a hybrid model, what do we do? Even though we're at 50% of the school capacity or the enrollment of the building, that's fine. But what we're talking about is, what do we do if students refuse to wear their mask? And we have been told that we will be supported by our chiefs, that we will tell those children they will need to go home. and we will have those conversations with the parents. They will need to go home. If they cannot adhere to the CDC guidelines to keep their mask on, unless they have a medical excuse to not wear a mask. But if they just want to keep it on their chin or on their forehead or whatever, and they're constantly told it is no longer about the mask, it's about a safety issue for the entire student body and faculty.
Okay, so what if they say they have a medical condition? You have to have a doctor's note, because
Yes.
all doctors are saying, okay, all doctors are saying that's the main reason they should be wearing it if it's have a medical condition.
Yeah, if like mainly it's like the MSD room is what the example that was given. Like when we're in the MSD room, there are students that have conditions and where they should not have things around their mouths because they will eat it. And so there may be medical reasons like that. That was the far extreme. But if there are other cases where there are students that are in our general education classes or collab classes that does not have to wear a mask because they have a medical note or excuse to not wear the mask, then we will make accommodations in the classroom to keep that child away from others, but they'll still be in there for the instruction.
Okay.
In Jessamine County, they are allowing throughout the day breaks from the mask, doing every other row. So they said that's been successful in keeping the kids not antsy to take them off. If they have time periods where they're allowed to do that, it's by row. This way, they at least have a little bit of break from those masks. I don't know. Has Fayette County discussed that, or is it going to be 100%? Or
from my understanding, it's going to be 100%. And the only thing that was brought up was, like, for example, if a student has PE, that would be the only reason, like if they're outside further away from each other. But now new information that's coming from the CDC saying that it is vapors in the air and it's spread that way. So I don't know, but the communication on Wednesday in the district leadership meeting did say, well, for example, PE, if they go outside and you're having the class outside, then yes, there's an opportunity for kids to take their mask off. But when you're in the building and you're in those classrooms and even transitioning in the hallways, you will have to keep your mask on. The only time that you're off is if you're in the cafeteria eating lunch.
I can't see having a mask break. I can't see that. I feel if parents have a letter stating what needs to be done in order to keep kids in the school, I think they need to abide by the rules, because we have students in Bryan Station and we're teaching them, hey, you got to keep the mask on at all times. And the students are doing the right thing, and you have a couple that constantly want to take it off. That's a big issue for me.
Ms. Santiago put a question in the comments, and she said, if the student has a compromised health issue, what alternatives can we provide if they can't go to school? So there is going to be a survey that will be sent to the families for families to indicate what is their desire for their child to come back to school. It's either hybrid, remote learning, or VLA. So I think I said this in a previous either faculty meeting or SBDM meeting, but like, for example, if at the beginning in the summer, you had a child that you wanted to come back to, if they were to hybrid, but let's say all of a sudden in the past month and a half, they've found out they have a compromised immune system. Well, then that's a special case. And so Fayette County said that they would take it by case. So if there is a compromised health issue for a child and originally the parents wanted them to come back to school to the hybrid model, then that case by case will be, oh, you're referring to targeted services. I mean, this is for targeted services. So if they cannot come into the school, then no, we don't have an alternative for them other than working with them through the kind of the virtual targeted supports that we've done on Wednesdays and from 1 to 3. because that was it wasn't called targeted support or targeted services, but that was built into our master schedule for virtual learning by having 3 classes on one day and, 3 and 3, and then Wednesday, just working independently, asynchronously, or Zooming with a teacher if you had to have supports. Like I know a lot of our teachers have been working with kiddos, especially leading up to and after midterm, to get caught up because of not knowing how to turn in assignments or not knowing exactly where to turn in assignments. So we would keep it virtual in that respect. But I do need to tell you, this is something very interesting. So the targeted support, the targeted services plan, we would not start until, let's say, if we were to start October 19th, the same time as elementary, it would be based upon the invitation and then the families saying, yes, I can transport my child to and from on that day. Because we did not receive Fayette County transportation until the week of November 2nd. And because the possibility of elementary going to a hybrid starting the week of November 2nd, then transportation would be only afforded to kids on the Wednesday. Yes. And we're talking about, and so let's say that the possibility does occur where elementary goes back in a hybrid and everything is okay. Well, then 2 weeks later, middle school, 6th grade begins. And we would no longer offer targeted services for 6th graders. But let's say our 7th and 8th grade teachers may continue to offer targeted services for 7th and 8th graders until the 2 weeks later that 7th and 8th grade comes back into the hybrid or comes into the hybrid model.
This is confusing.
Yes, it's very confusing.
Okay.
So is there any portion of this, like there's something I need to add, more detail? That's what I'm where I am right now.
So are you trying to figure out the details to send to parents, or just that, I mean, for us, I understand it.
I mean, is this crystal clear to you all? Because I mean, we have parents, teachers, it makes sense
to me.
in my head. So
Yeah.
okay. And then the information that I'll share with families will be more detailed and using more layman terms so that all families will understand exactly what we're doing. And then the invitations will go to specific families and students that we want to target. But keep in mind, if teachers have a concern about like childcare or whatever, like for example, let's take me for example. If I were asked, okay, well, can you come in on Mondays and Tuesdays and work with students from 2 to 4? Well, at that time, that's when I'm getting my daughter because she's finished with her virtual learning. So I'm not in the position until we go back to hybrid to say to teachers, you have to do this. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So it's also getting staffing. It's also getting student buy-in, parent buy-in to either transport or understanding that. And once we get our targeted group that would need transportation, I have to get a list of all of those names and forward it on to the director over transportation, Brad Daniels. And we have a deadline to get those names pushed out as well. So it's a lot to do in a short period of time. And one of the principals in elementary said, so basically what we're doing is we're trying to come up with a plan to provide targeted services for 2 weeks, and which roughly comes out to be about 20 hours.
The most important thing right now is to get enough teachers, right?
Yes, getting enough teachers. And we do have a few teachers that I know that were like, yeah, sure, I'll do it. But we have to get the listing of the students that fall within that targeted group
Okay.
and get the communication out to the families. And, you know, once we know the number exactly, like say, for instance, if we did the full capacity of 120, well, we know that we're going to need 12 teachers. The likelihood of us getting 12 teachers, slim.
Yeah, because if they have health issues also. So.
Right.
I have a question as far as with the principals meetings and the plans are getting placed. I think the only question I have as a parent is how did there's 171 school districts and there's 124 back in school, either hybrid or 4 days a week. And it's been mostly working. So is it just because of the size of Fayette County that we're having issues of getting everybody on the same page? Or
Yes.
I'm,
And it's not principals making that decision.
not principal. I'm just the school boards. I mean, as far as school board,
school board. It's the
like,
superintendent with the school board because, you know, a lot of times, and, you know, Shelley and Santiago can attest to this. When I had those faculty meetings, as soon as I learned something, I try to get my staff together and say, hey, this is what I know. I don't really know what it, you know.
You understand where you're coming from, the parent side of things, as far as trying to figure out.
There's like 121 counties in Kentucky. 120. So out of those 120, there are about 5 that are the largest. And Fayette County is one. Jefferson County is one. Fayette County is number 2. And so smaller counties can do this because they have a smaller population. So therefore, it's a smaller population. A lot of these smaller counties only have like one school for each level, elementary, middle, and high. And so they're able to do that. And it will probably be more advantageous for them to come back in a hybrid model because like the articles and things that I was reading was that there are some places down in the Harla, something like that, in the valleys, you know, they couldn't get Wi-Fi anywhere. So they're trying to start virtually and Zoom. Well, there were people who lived out in the outskirts of town or not even close to town, and they couldn't get Wi-Fi. They were going to Dairy Queen and, you know, things like that. So just to answer your question, yes, we are a very large district and we happen to be a college town too. Mm-hmm. And UK and a little bit of Trancey is interwoven into Fayette County. I mean, student teachers, school programs, they're all run by Fayette County students. And so when people started saying, oh, well, the reason why our numbers spiked is because UK, but we can't just say that's UK in isolation. We've got to figure out how we're going to work together because their education programs are like, for example, when I worked at Beaumont, there were 2, one at undergrad and one graduate. They actually had their classes at Beaumont and they would meet for an hour and then they would go out and they use it like a clinical and they would come into the classrooms. So that's happening throughout our district. And that plays into it as well.
Well, and I even wrote my school board member before they had their last meeting and just wanted them to consider that and Miss Kirby, you're aware of this, but like my nephew got COVID and exposed all my kids, and he was sick, and he's a UK student. He lives off campus. He works off campus. So he exposed a whole lot of people. And it wasn't just, you can't just say, oh, well, and I know UK is trying to keep people in quarantine and making them stay on campus, but you know, my nephew exposed a whole lot of people that were not anything to do with UK, and I quarantined for 2 weeks by choice because it was easier for me to do, but my kids were mandated for 2 weeks by the health department, you know, so it's kind of, I think it affects us more than what we think.
Yeah.
I think that's a lot of parents' biggest concern is their child going to school and somebody not reporting that their child is sick or not wearing a mask. And in the meantime, while you're trying to get them to wear a mask, they're literally just all over the place. So that's my concern. And then a few of the people that I've talked to PTA, they're concerned. But like I told them, as long as you're teaching your child to wear that mask at all times, they help the next person.
Right.
So if you have students and they have friends, and my student say, no, you know, keep your mask on. So I think kids that are learning to keep their mask on will help the other students. No, you need to keep your mask on. If you want to continue to come to school, we have to keep our mask on. So I'm praying that the kids will come together and just start telling each other that.
Yeah. Did that answer your question, Mr. Anderkin?
It did, and I agree on the mask thing. I think Fayette County, when you walk into restaurants, grocery stores, gas stations, I think Fayette County's doing incredible. If you go to Indiana, they're not wearing masks. We're talking, it is 25%, probably about 25% only when I was traveling just this week in the Indy area, and they're not wearing masks. So Fayette County, you know, I know we have the students wise, but I really do think overall they are Kentucky alone is doing a wonderful job as far as regard to that compared to other states.
Right. I agree with that. Like, I haven't left Fayette County, but my daughter has, and she was in Virginia, and I saw pictures, and people were just walking around like it's 2019. My child has to have her mask on. You have to put that mask on. Like, that's not a negotiable. And so I understand that. But my biggest concern, like, even though as a state, you know, collectively comparison to other states, but you still, when you go in those pockets and you'll go to restaurants or you'll go to, like, for example, I go to Meyer right over here off Reynolds Road, and there are people walking around with their mask under their chin. And I'm like, your chin's safe, but your nose and your mouth, like, cover it up. And so I think that plays into it. And then too, like, the gathering at houses and not really caring. And I can't blame that on UK, because I know of some of my friends that have gathered at people's houses and had parties, and they're not wearing masks. So.
Yeah, because their water that they drink tells them otherwise. Those parties.
Yes. I didn't go, but I saw it on Facebook. So
yep.
How I
see a
keep
lot
up
on Facebook
with business. Yes, I'm kind of a homebody. But so that is our targeted plan, and it's not necessarily something that needs to be voted on, but if you have any, like, I will share that out with you just so you can have a look at it and, you know, have some time to mull over. And if you come up with anything before the 12th at 9 a.m., then please forward it to me, and I will put that, you know, in the plan and to make sure that it's clear for everybody.
Oh, I do have a quick question. What if, say you got all your invitations out, then you have a parent that contacts you saying that their child really needs help in a certain area. They're not a part of that. Yeah, or something.
Then I would direct them to that virtual support, you know, that we have on Wednesdays, as well as between 1 to 3 for them to get that extra support that they need for that particular topic. I toiled over the idea of with Spanish immersion, and I know like I've gotten some feedback from Spanish immersion parents saying, why can't you all have like a conversation club and have the kids come in and talk to each other? And I'm like, well, we can talk to our Spanish immersion teachers and maybe they can partner up and you could have like a breakout room and one adult be in that breakout room and they could talk in Spanish in that room. And then another one could talk in another room in Spanish. And then you all could do that. But just coming into the building just to practice speaking in Spanish, when we have populations of students that are coming to us that are 2 and 3 grade levels below in reading. And they need that support and they're not getting it by that tier 1 instruction every other day.
Right.
Realistically, when you think about it, like if I had my reading class on Monday, first period, I won't see that reading teacher again until Thursday at 9:00. So this would give them an opportunity to have more time on task. I know we're doing Imagine Learning, but I'm gonna be honest with you. I have an 8-year-old and she's supposed to do 60 minutes a week in language and literacy and in math, and she is not doing it. And I get notifications from her teacher and I'm like, okay, Friday, that's all you're doing. You're not having a day off. You are doing Imagine Learning. So if my 8-year-old is doing that, then I know that middle schoolers who are being assigned Imagine Learning, they're not consistently spending that time in front of the computer.
Majority of my kids are doing it because I assign 30 points per lesson. So that's part of their grades because it's a standard they're going after. So
right.
So
see, I think
see
it's a little bit.
I see more results because of the points in their grade.
Well, and I think that's a different ideology when it comes to Spanish immersion, to a certain extent, because when we're talking about the traditional side, okay, so I don't get my 30 points. And my daughter, they don't get grades in 3rd grade.
You have to motivate them some way.
And I mean, she's already said, it's not like I get grades, so why does it matter?
Yeah, these
So imagine you being a principal having the issue with the 8-year-old and the parent working 60 hours a week who's not knowing what's going on behind the scenes and getting the email. It's all behind.
Exactly. And even as a principal at a Fayette County Public School, like I am thankful for my child's 3rd grade teacher because every week, like clockwork, Thursday, I get an email. These are her missing assignments. This is how many minutes she spent on, language literacy and math or math facts. And I'm checking that email. So with everything I have going on, and that's my argument back. And I guess I probably need to formulate my argument before I talk to parents, but like, I understand your lives are hectic. I get it. But, if I'm asking my teachers to take time out to send those weekly newsletters saying, hey, this is what's coming up. Hey, this is what you need to be working on. And we got to open up the email. I mean, I've had people reach out to me and say, no one told me about this. And I'm like, I'm the one who sent the IC message. I know it went out. So, and I get bombarded because if you get stuff from Fayette County, like from Superintendent Koch or Lisa Deffendahl, I get it as a parent and as a staff member. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And I get it in my home email and work. So, I don't know. So what I'm hearing, Mr. Anderkin, is that we as a school have to do like kind of study sessions for parents as well to support them so that they understand.
I agree.
Because I'm gonna be honest with you, it's been a while since I've done math, and they do math a little different.
It's not the same math you learn when you're in school, definitely.
No, she's doing multiplication and division, and I'm like, 9 times 9, Abby, what is it? But she's like, and then she starts making these little dots and circles, and I'm like, what is that? I was like, it's 81. Like, you just had to memorize it. And she was like, how do you know that so fast? I was like, because we had to memorize it.
Mm-hmm.
But they have like all these tricks. I had no idea.
They get more confused nowadays.
Yes. And then the division is just subtraction.
Yep.
The multiple over and over again. I was like, what? Anywho.
Should
Sorry.
have seen me trying to help mine. I said, no, get hold of your teacher. I tried. I'm like, I don't know. I said, I haven't done math in 20 years. I don't know. Know what you're doing. We didn't do it like that.
Yeah, I've confused my child many times. Their favorite number and all that crazy stuff. I'm like, okay, let's go watch
He said,
the video.
do you have a headache now? And I was like, yes, I have a headache now. So email your teacher.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so the time is now 5:40. If all minds are clear, I mean, that was the only thing that was on the agenda that I really needed to share with you all, get your feedback on. We will have our regularly scheduled SBDM meeting next Wednesday, 5 o'clock. Agenda will be coming to you for that. We'll be sharing out data on MAP as well as, what's that other thing called? CSIP and hybrid plan. Yes. So those are the 3 items that will be on the agenda next week.
Okay.
All righty. Everybody have a nice.
Thank you all.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Good night.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
I'll see you all Monday because I'm not coming to work. I'm gonna take my muscle relaxer and go night night.
Feel better.
Did your
Thank
doctor
you.
give you
Get
anything
better.
for your blood pressure?
Let me turn this recording off. Okay,
Oh, sorry.
that's fine. So
It says live
Okay.
up